Well, I'd like to call this meeting to order. Then I need to put the link. You want to speak? I like to speak. This is a report. And one nation. Fixing justice for. Up the wall, something. What do we got going on tonight?
Thank you. First up this evening is our department head updates. Tim Brown, we'll start with you.
Pretty much the same. We're working on getting ready for the pavers to come. They're due to come July 21st to start working on the roads. So we're changing catch basins and digging sidewalks out. Checking curb stops. We met with some people on Stone Street that had a concern over the sidewalks, and we were able to give them information and they were happy. They'd asked that the sidewalk be removed because they weren't in understanding of what was going on.
Okay, good.
After me and Jessica met with them, they were all happy and cheap. So did. Start grading again. Tricky rain screwing everything all up.
It's been wet.
I would like to add, moving forward, when we put out offset stakes, can we leave a little note for the homeowners so they understand we're not taking their land? To try to avoid what happened
I
on
think
Stone
the
Street.
best thing to do would be maybe send them a letter or email them a letter.
That created a lot of.
I understand that. I try to, as I'm doing it, because it takes a few minutes to set them up. If the landowner comes out, I try to approach them and tell them what we're doing and
Flyers,
what's taking place.
how to make truck or
Yeah.
something.
No, yeah, that's understood.
Thank you.
That's it.
Well, we talked about the flood service line thing and Kim, so that's good. We did not finish our hydrant flushing in the month of May, so we're finishing it in the month of June. I'm sure if that's gonna have any problems with the notification of the Facebook world, complaining or whatever. Just have time between the weather and everything else. Sinkholes seem to be more and more of a common problem. It all boils down to aging infrastructure, which we talk and talk and talk. Kind of made a sarcastic comment to a budget committee member. He really didn't like it, but I actually meant every bit of it. So, I mean, you can't keep nickel and diming these budgets every year and expect to fix some of these problems. It's not going to happen. It's frustrating. So whether you get any feedback from him, I don't know. Cleaning the intake again, that seems to be more and more common, and it seems to be the same problems that we keep having. You know, we get a new intake put in, we follow the cleaning schedule, and it works good. And then over time, the cleaning schedule gets closer and closer and closer together. Where now it's almost to the point where every time we have a lot of rain and a lot of runoff, we got to clean the intake. So ultimately, that intake's going to have to probably be replaced. And this is the third time they build an intake. They go with the same type of design, and it's obviously doesn't work. What happens is it's kind of simple. It's these they're like 12-inch screens. They look like a pipe along the ground. What happens if we clean it? We're only able to blow that. We're basically blowing that top layer off. We're not, you know, when them screens were put in, you had 360 degrees worth of coverage, you know, where the water could go in and keep the plant. Well, then it just keeps silting in. Now when we clean it, we're just blowing off that real small layer off the top. And it's good as long as the brook stays clear. But when you get a lot of silt sediment, we're losing that, you know, void. We're cleaning it. So we're doing that. We actually just finished doing that today. Again, working hand in hand with highway because, you know, they're going to pave the road. We're trying to make sure that our water services are good on both sides. When I report, we did find some too on the homeowner side that were galvanized. One, we actually had to replace all the way to its basement because we just could not hook back onto it. The other one, we were able to hook onto it up in their section. But we're paving over an old water line. Service line is all flared fittings. We're doing the best we can to try to make sure that it'll not be a time bomb after it's paved. Sewer line on Depot Street is horrible. The sewer line on Railroad Street is even worse. So we're trying to, trying to make the best. That's all we can do. I mean, because you're turning in, whatever. What's that paving gonna cost to do them?
Paving at the total is 330.
Yeah, so it's either 330 or, 2.5 million. We just doing what we can to keep this stuff backed up.
Station, you've been around the property spring, I wonder if we're on, let's find these couple stock, don't think the roads that we had before.
Yep.
So, that's. We just some outside maintenance we're doing. I'd like to get through two things come out of, monies from the rotary waste. One is 2 containers to house basically waste oil drums, 3 meters, exploded oil, batteries, all the things that we housed before in their own containers, and those containers went bad, we moved them into others. So as we remove. That's the form, I think. That's what was it. Like that, approved if I can, and then the other thing is, you have a quote from.
From Air Equipment.
Rusty.
Yeah.
This money from this fund.
Yeah.
Moved to ID.
DS
Yes.
funds both of these
Yes.
expenditure.
Perfect. Thank you.
They consider anything to do with waste oil as recycled oil. So that's why we deal with DES on all the
So
stuff.
storage of it is dealing with it.
Storages, burning of it, any of that stuff. It's good.
Project proposal from Aero Equipment, we hereby submit a quote to supply and install one CE 180, a clean energy 175,000 BTU waste oil fired heater. Heater to replace the existing heater located in the transfer station as discussed. Installation includes a 24 galvanized stovepipe with draft regulator inside and double wall stainless steel insulated chimney pipe out the gable and flash and cap. A new oil transfer pump with modifications to the existing oil supply line from the tank to the burner with all necessary fittings, filters, and valves. To fire up, test, and adjust burner, and brief the customer on proper operations and maintenance. Warranty 2-year on all parts, 12 years on chamber and heat exchanger, for a total of $15,690.
Do we have any other bids? Are we soliciting other bids?
He's kind of unique in that he services for us. He installed the last one we had. It's not like a normal boiler. Waste oils are different. Certified. So,
So
Yeah.
per the procurement policy, cases not requiring competitive pricing procedure, this, is the only one known source of good or service with no comparable substitute.
That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
This is out of the capital reserve account.
The waste.
Wastewater.
Oh,
Motor vehicle. Motor vehicle.
Right.
Now, I know we swapped that fund over so we could do this. Yes. But my concern is these weren't brought up in the budget. And I understand we need to do it. But it just sounds like we're going outside of normal protocol. Motor vehicle waste is a revolving fund, it's not part of it.
Yeah, and we found, my understanding, I'm not an expert on it. We tried it, yeah, is we swapped it to highway. We found out that it has tags to it,
Correct.
has to be spent only for stuff like that.
That yes allows.
The DSLR, so being spent for,
I understand, but my concern is whatever fund it comes out of, I mean, there's times we have the power to expend from the capital reserve. But we generally have not done that unless it's an extreme emergency. So, yeah,
It's not capital. That's why it's
All right,
better.
I understand, but we're still going 100% outside of the budget. Which one of these items did you have in your budget?
Did I have it in my budget?
Yeah.
We didn't have that because there's money for Allsmith to originally be transferred to highway.
Got into their budget.
So this fund does not hit the tax rate.
This cannot become a normal operation for this fund. Again, it should be, in my opinion, and understand, the forward thinking, we have this fund. I know I'm gonna need a new furnace, and it should come, and it should be in the budget. We're spending one way or the other, they're town funds. Town's taxpayers have paid that money. None of the town's taxpayers are now informed that we needed a $15,000 furnace. Or these other items, and I understand they might be needed. But even if they come from this fund, what I'm saying, the proper procedure should be that they come into the budget. Budget committee is informed, the town taxpayer is informed, and you use this thing as a source of revenue. Okay, I'm gonna spend $15,600 for this furnace, but I'm gonna take revenue from this fund to pay for it. I'm very uncomfortable that we're spending over and above what was budgeted by the town taxpayers at the March meeting. So,
so, can I add, if I'm
Yeah.
So that money was earmarked to the highway department, correct, spent. So the town was under the impression that money was going to be spent. I believe it was spent all. I just want.
I was originally planning on using it for paving inside, yes.
Yeah.
right, but that was town taxpayers.
Thought it was, and unfortunately, even in town with us,
We understood, and I understand that there was confusion about that, and we have to pull it back and use it for a certain. But again, now, if he had to put in his budget, okay, I need a $15,600,
Yeah, I see where you're going with that.
then I can say, okay, he's gonna use this as revenue towards that, so we don't have to impact the taxpayer. What I'm saying, again, he's gonna overextend his budget. Doesn't matter whether he pulls it out of this fund or another fund, he's gonna overextend his budget.
His appropriation. What was appropriate?
Correct.
My understanding for capital reserve is when things happen that the Board of Selectmen is granted the authority to be agents to expend.
Depending on how it was created. correct?
Okay, so wouldn't you really have to go back to how it was created to figure out whether you could spend it outside of what you're saying?
I'm just, again, we're outside of the normal budgeting process.
Okay.
That's, and yes, you're probably right. There's certain capital reserve funds we can spend on an emergency basis. The normal process from this board for years has been, we don't expend until the taxpayers give us approval to spend that money. And I understand it's cumbersome and stuff, but it's not our normal protocol. Whether, no matter what fund it is, it's still Town of Lancaster's taxpayers' money. And it should have gone through the budget process.
And I guess for clarity is it did go through the budget process. And that's what I think is the misunderstanding. When it went through the budget process, the understanding was that money was going to be used in highway. And now we're being told that that money that had been collected prior can't be used in highway.
Which I understand.
Right. So it's
But
basically,
again, again. He had projects that went through the budget process. There's paving projects, there's sidewalk projects that went through the budgeting process. This furnace and the other thing did not go through the budgeting. Budget committee does not know about these expenditures. And we have a budget committee for a reason. And again, you have that, you're gonna overexpend your bottom line. It's still taxpayers' money. I'm uncomfortable, I understand you're gonna need a furnace, but this cannot become the standard process for expending these monies.
yeah, and I don't think it's standard. And I think that this whole process was unorthodox about where the money was going, and then it stopped. It was put back into the fund. And basically, it sits in purgatory until we can spend it on something that involves motor vehicle waste. It can't be spent on anything else.
Which I understand. And I'd be perfectly comfortable right now that if you had to put a Crown for a $16,000 furnace in your budget because you needed it replaced. Well, now we could say to the taxpayers, okay, we found another source of revenue, we couldn't use it on what we had planned on. But that's not the case. Again, it hasn't gone through the budgeting process. And I understand it's needed. But hey, we're outside of the budgeting process.
They are. They were saying, and I've been thinking about it. But last year, we did something that we should have done. When we authorized the police department, to take money for the maintenance.
It also went through the budgeting process, I believe.
No, he came to us,
No, they come out of capital reserve.
it came out of a state fund, but we should, probably shouldn't have done that, what you were saying.
And we discussed those for 6 months, but probably not.
We would say,
No, probably not.
Just for clarification, and I understand where you're going from, you want it to be above board so that everybody knows that it's being spent, and if we have time to do that, okay. However, I just wanted to point out that the motor vehicle waste fund had no effect on the tax rate whatsoever. Even if he overexpended that expense line and didn't collect as much as previously, it stays equal when it's being done at the tax rate center. I just wanted to
Yeah,
just
I
explain.
can understand that.
Yeah,
I'm just, like I said, uncomfortable how far outside of the normal.
and I understand where you're going with that. You'd like to see it.
yeah, no, and I understand that, what you're saying. If that furnace didn't just quit, machine.
In those containers, yeah, just
Right. So some forward thinking, but,
the,
so let's learn, so let's learn from this. When our department agents need something, and they write their little list. If some money becomes available,
Part of the confusion for this on my part, and I understand what you're saying, but Chairman's input here has a lot of weight because that's where I was coming. My understanding when we sat through the budget process in the 2 years I've been here, motor vehicle waste fund has never been a point of discussion with the budget committee. So if that, prior to that has been an issue, I apologize, not fault my sword, I did it the wrong way. But my understanding of how that worked, and I tried to clarify that before, was you guys could approve to expend things out of that fund. And motor vehicle waste fund being a revolving fund, outside of, it's not a capital reserve fund, it's not a budgetary function, it's its own revolving fund, is different. That's the office of John's operating. So if that's wrong, I'll apologize. But that's what I was wrong.
We go back to my question, if we just do a public hearing on this, would it solve notice to the public, the town people, about what we're considering doing? As opposed to waiting until 2026 budget.
Well,
Does
and
that solve?
don't think we can wait for the
I don't-
2020.
I don't think so.
Because he needs a furnace, he needs heat. I'm not saying that he doesn't need it, I'm just,
The furnace that's there operates now, let me be very clear. But resident quit making parts between, and the guidance services have said there's 2 parts at this point that I cannot get. They said, if they fail you in the middle of winter, it's all right. So,
and I appreciate that, I'm just, you know, it's a revolving fund, and you're saying it's outside, but it's still taxpayer funds. And we haven't discussed these expenses with,
I have a quick question just for my own. When has the last, obviously money has been expended from this fund in the past. Has that come before the board?
I've never,
Sure.
I-
As I believe that the expenditures have just been submitted to come out of those accounts.
but it seems like
Okay.
fairly, maybe through oil filter pressure or something, we haven't expended that much out of that fund.
no, other than when tires go, which they'll be approved, because I just simply call them and tell them to take 42 tons of tires here. And there is a bill that is approved to that, so.
and that comes out of that fund.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you have been able to access that fund without our.
I was trying to get ahead of the game, came tonight, said what I said. I thought this would not be an issue. If it's not, let's back up and do whatever. needs to be.
Is tire disposal not run through the budget where you say, okay, I'm gonna expend,
Tire disposal again comes out of motor vehicle waste fund, it's not part of the budget. I don't, and I, it's
So
not,
it's in out.
it's a revolving fund, as Chair said, it doesn't affect the tax rate. It's not.
which I understand, but I've got a fund at the registry that is for equipment. And I can expend to buy equipment, but I got to put the equipment in my budget. And then I use that fund as revenue offset the thing, I think. Because I'm sitting here and over the time, did not know that was done, but the taxpayers are not having a clear picture of what it's costing to operate the transfer station. If you spend $50,000 a year transferring tires, that's a large amount of money that taxpayers, the budget committee, everyone can have the oversight.
That's why I pursued getting rid of the motor vehicles. So we get rid of them.
I'm just saying, in the future, I prefer this to come through the budget.
Yes.
So if you have something that you know is coming up, it needs to go through the budget process. And that's clear, it is above the board, everyone can say, okay, we heard it in the budget meeting. And I'm concerned that we were expending from it for a vital function of the transfer station, getting rid of tires. But then when we look at what it's really costing us to run the transfer station, we're not getting a clear picture because you got a huge expense even though it doesn't affect the tax rate, you've got a huge expense. And you really don't have oversight on, budget committee doesn't have oversight.
Now, we did, you do that something by stopping it, we will have it moving.
So,
Which you budgeted this year for the actual tires that are gonna be designed up.
Honest attempt to clean this problem.
yeah, and I'm not trying to beat you up on it. You brought it here and you're asking, but I'm uncomfortable. And then, way it's been done. And it's not through the budget process.
Oh,
And I've been under the impression, all the years I've been on the board, that the town cannot overexpend its bottom line. That's why we crimped so hard. We had all the issues with the storm and stuff. So the town didn't overexpend the bottom line, you know, we ended up with 17,000 left out of a. Whether it's out of this fund, it's all taxpayer money. I believe it needs to go through the budgeting process. You know, if we have an emergency or something that comes up unexpectedly, when they start one of the plow trucks, we actually did a lease purchase, so we had to take the least amount of money out of the capital reserve fund as cost, rather than just go and purchase it. And then we went to the town meeting and got approval for the purchase. My thoughts on how this should be handled in the future.
in the future, I think that's.
Anything to burn.
That was my thought on the public hearing, at least we could get the word out to people, they could hear it, so that we weren't doing something against the people, per se. Right, we would make it public. We can't go back to the March meeting.
No.
No, but he's going to need it before we come to March 2026. Town meeting.
You do that, you would satisfy both parties.
Well,
Well,
we're hoping I'm gonna hear from
All
like.
three parties, that's what.
I would think, yeah, schedule one for next meeting.
You do that, Jessica?
I'm not trying to beat up on you, I'm just like, okay, right.
I think around that meeting too, it should be very clear that money, regardless of what people decide or don't decide, cannot be spent for anything else.
Yep.
There's absolutely nothing. So the only thing you can do is underlay purchases. There is no other thing that can be.
Yep.
Except for motor vehicle waste. That always fits the bill. So what's there is there, what gets accumulated forward goes to Brown's fund. But what's there is just basically, like I said, it's an improvement.
It's part of the cleaning up of it.
Yeah, it's been a lot.
That's all.
The ZBA approved the variance to put a clear span cover over a riding arena on Grange Road. It exists closer to the, boundary, so it's within its setback. So they just said, basically, it's a grandfather type thing. Planning board had, review for completeness on a major site plan for a cabin community up on, at the bottom of, Page Hill Road. They did not find the application complete and requested more information, so we'll be having a second review for completeness at their next meeting. Conservation Commission, basically it's just been trails work. You've seen the kiosks that have been installed on Alan Savage's land where the Heritage Trail starts, and we have one on Main Street next to the Granite Grind. And then the third one will be a relocation of the one that exists along the river and move to the trailhead on Causeway. So the ribbon cutting for that has been announced to be the 28th of June, and that will be at the Granite Grind kiosk. The input from Tim was actually one of the planning board members who, went to do his, follow-up on the capital improvement plan. And actually, the conversation turned into some, some concern about what assets. So he's now seen the water asset management plan, the sewer asset management plan, and didn't have really a concept of just how much had to be done. So now he's actually thinking about spearheading community outreach so that people know exactly the breadth of replacement required. The sneeze application was resubmitted for the compression system for the ambulance. Working on the firehouse application for the power cots. Next Thursday, I'm hoping that I can step out for the Source Water Protection Conference in Pembroke. I don't know if Timmy wants to go. And then I've been working on, well, getting stuff ready for the audit. I've had a list of numbers that I've been fishing for quite some time. And then the last thing was a consultation that I had with from Jim McMahon from Weston and Sampson about doing a project because he gets to do an interest project pro bono, and he would like to do it with Lancaster. And so he's kind of soliciting things that might be done because he threw out maybe a charrette. I threw out the idea of a parking study. So if there are any things that you find might be a good thing for a project like that for him, just send me an email.
Yeah. That's it for department heads this evening. You're free to go if you wish. There are no appointments this evening, and we should open a public hearing for the proposed application to the Community Development Finance Authority for up to $500,000 in CDBG housing.
So at this time, I'd like to open it up to a public hearing.
If you'd like, I could read through this. There's a lot there.
That's
I'm Donna Lane. I'm a CDBG consultant. And this is what I generally read through them. So if that suits you, since you've opened it, I can go ahead. That suit you?
Yeah.
Okay. So first I want to say that there's informational packets here. If anybody is interested in looking at those. And I'm just going to read to you because we have to, okay? Community Development Block Grant funds are available to municipalities through the New Hampshire Community Development Finance Authority. Up to $500,000 annually is available for economic development projects. Up to $500,000 for housing projects. Up to $500,000 for public facility projects. Up to $500,000 in emergency funds. And up to $25,000 for a planning study grant. All projects must directly benefit a majority of low and moderate income persons. This is a proposed implementation community development block grant application to the Community Development Finance Authority for up to $500,000 in community development block grant housing funds. The town will retain up to $35,000 for administrative labor compliance costs associated with the project. $465,000 of the funds would be sub-granted to a head, affordable housing, education, and development. Towards improvements, including siding, roof replacement, paving, driveway, common area upgrades, as well as possible new heating systems at the McKee Inn. 35 units of affordable elderly and disabled housing at 186 Main Street in Lancaster. The residents of McKee are of low and moderate income. This project conforms with Lancaster's proposed, and we're going to talk about this in the third public hearing. We're going to have 3 consecutive hearings still on. Proposed housing community development plans goal. And I just want you to know the last time you adopted the housing community development plan was 2015. Is that what I said? Yes. Yeah, I see that. 2015, and we're not proposing any changes. Okay, we're just readopting the old one again. It's just after 3 years, they're too old. Okay. So these were the goals we had in 2015 that we're proposing again in 25. Both promote Lancaster as favorable place to live and preserve those characteristics that appeal to the present residents, to encourage land use policies that protect and enhance present and future values of Lancaster's housing stock, and that promote equitable housing opportunities for the diverse population needs of the residents. To preserve and protect the natural and cultural qualities of Lancaster that lend themselves to unique town character. That's a short-term and long-term goal. And this is the objective. Implement neighborhood infrastructure upgrades as identified and designed through the CDBG feasibility study process, rehabilitate and improve the infrastructure in low and moderate income neighborhoods. Objective 2, encourage the provisions of safe, sanitary, and affordable housing opportunities for all persons. Objective 3, encourage the preservation and rehabilitation of existing housing stock, emphasizing in particular structures of historic, cultural, architectural, or aesthetic significance. Objective 4, to assist residents with special needs, such as the elderly, the handicapped, and those of low and moderate income to find decent, safe, sanitary, and affordable housing. Objective 5, preserve and promote existing neighborhoods and community centers. I had could not be here tonight. Their intent was to be here, but something came up. I think they told Robin, did they send you an email, Robin, explaining that?
Yes.
So they apologize for that. The last time I believe I was in Lancaster I've been doing CDBG for over 40 years. And I think the last time I was here was for McKee. So that's probably been 15, 20 years ago when we did some upgrades. So, time's marched on and the place needs a little facelift going on. So that's what we're asking. And if you can ask for public comment or if the selectmen have comments.
So my only question is, do we anticipate relocation of any
We'll
residents?
talk about that in the next public hearing, but the answer is no. But that's the summary. Yes.
The last time it was inside renovations, that was,
Usually we move them to a different
it was moving.
unit inside, we fix one out and then we don't anticipate being inside because very.
Anybody from the public have any questions? We're good. So we'll close this public hearing.
Don't believe so.
And now we'll open it up to another.
Okay, so this is the one on the residential anti-displacement and relocation assistance plan for the McKee rehabilitation project. And so it's a funny thing is this anti-displacement plan, you have to adopt it every time you ask for CDBG, whether it's relevant to what you're doing or not. So if you're just doing a planning study and you're just doing paperwork, we still have to adopt it every single time. That being said, you've adopted this same plan every time you've asked for CDBG and you haven't done other. So I'm gonna read you this little ditty. This plan outlines measures under the Uniform Relocation Act required for CDBG projects that involve any displacement or relocation. The difference between displacement and relocation is displacement is less than a year of persons or businesses. If the town were to undertake a CDBG project, now that's important. If it's a CDBG project, this isn't talking about anything else we do, okay? Which involve displacement or relocation, they would follow this plan. The plan outlines the measures they would take to find comparable, suitable housing for persons or businesses displaced or relocated. This project does not anticipate displacement or relocation, as the improvements are not within the units. If you talk about their like roofing, siding, stuff like that. But we do know that if anything were to come up, which is certainly not anticipated, but say we broke the plumbing or something like that, a head would have to take care of all costs of relocation, putting people in hotels or something like that. That's just how it's going. But for this project, nothing's anticipated.
That does require a vote.
Oh, we
Adopt.
vote in a few minutes.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, all right.
I have a script. We can't go off it all. So if does the selectmen have any comments or questions or any of that, or just wild community of participants audience? Does the dog?
Well, it's happening. There are dislocations in federal government. Is that going to affect any of these grants? You go up, are you aware of it now?
Well, we all don't know anything that's happening, to be honest. But the 2025 funds have been obligated to New Hampshire for this application round. They believe that this money will exist. I can't tell you that
That's been, you know, that,
Well, we anticipate something maybe next. If it's the letter from HUD that says there's money coming, has. Now I can't promise anything else, they got a letter. So we're moving on as, like we always did, because nobody has answers. And so we're just moving ahead and going where we go.
and, so this motion is on 2025, but, so this would be a project would be completed within fiscal 2025, or how would that?
It's there. CDFA's 2025 funding. It doesn't have to happen, it's just add that.
The funding is from that fiscal
Yeah.
year, not that once it's here. How
Well,
much is-
again, again, I can't promise anything. All I'm doing is, in theory, the money is coming to the state of New Hampshire, and we're planning on spending it on projects until we're told.
How about, have you had staffing and personnel reductions that would affect the efficiency of the sort of thing?
Well, not in the state of New Hampshire. At HUD perhaps, but this comes through, this is CDFA operates for the state of New Hampshire, and they have not.
This money, maybe it has a federal source, but it's allocated to the state, and it's up to the state to manage it, expend it.
Yeah.
And once it, so if the states go ahead, once they are assured, as you say, letter came,
But that's how we're formed. I mean, that one day there was a freeze and we all didn't know what we were doing with projects that were in motion, that were already awarded. And that had been, I had been 40-something years, because that hadn't happened before. So I'm not saying anything, any confidence anymore. I just saying we just do the best we can and keep moving forward until it's over.
so if there were any staffing reductions, it would be at the federal level, but that discussed the end of here.
Yes, we're talking about the New Hampshire project. I assume there'll be reductions in the federal level. I don't know what's gonna. But so far, nothing, they're still looking, to keep all their people. How's that for a non-answer? It's me, it's your answer, I'm sorry. I am a private consultant who works for municipalities. I work neither at the federal or the state. I know if I by municipalities,
The word, does this really have anything?
no, but I have to answer whatever.
Okay. Fully up, but how long will this?
Nope, 2 minutes. So what I do is I'm brought in to keep towns in compliance.
Uh-huh.
And so I'm hired by towns, paid for through the grants. I hired by towns to make sure they comply with all the federal regulations. Because nobody's well versed in exactly what every grant requires. So it's easier just to bring in somebody who's well versed in that grant. This,
How much funding you for this meeting right now?
no.
The town is not, has no taxpayer dollars, so no. I think that's-
And I'm getting paid to be here. I'm not getting paid to be here. If it gets funded, I will get paid at some point through the grant, but not right now. I've been doing it for 40-something years, it's the first time. for me. These primarily benefit low and moderate income people.
Mhm.
And most low and moderate income groups can't afford to have grant writers without it coming out of the grant. So I don't charge them.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Okay. Any more questions on that? Okay, can we close that one and go to the next?
All right, we're gonna close that one. I'd like to open up to another public hearing.
This is on the housing and community development plan, and as I said before, you have to have a housing and community development plan to request CDBG funds. It's a requirement, and you have to be addressing a goal that's in your plan. So you had a plan, the last time was 2015. So that's when we did McKee, but that was your last plan. You've done some other things. It could have been something like that. I don't know. But anyway, so I don't propose any changes. I'm just gonna read a little bit. I'm not gonna go through everything. I'm just gonna do the goals. Housing and community development plan is required to be eligible to apply for CDBG funds. The proposed housing and community development plan identifies needs which currently exist or are anticipated during the next 3 years. The plan provides a basis for guiding the town's housing and community development objectives and actions In addition, the plan includes the CDBG participation plan that details the CDBG requirements for public hearings. The plan, the same goals that you had in 2015. Goal 1, ensure an adequate supply of safe, sanitary, and reasonably priced water for the present and future needs of the town to encourage safe sanitary wastewater system. Goal 2, to both promote Lancaster as a favorable place to live and preserve those characteristics that appeal to the present residents, to encourage land use policies that protect and enhance present and future values of Lancaster's housing stock, and that promote equitable housing opportunities for the diverse population needs of the residents. To preserve and protect the natural and cultural qualities of Lancaster that lend themselves to the unique town character. Goal 3, commercial and industrial development should be encouraged and integrated into Lancaster so that it balances the economic needs of the town and demands placed upon the town by such development. Goal 4, provide Lancaster's residents and commercial enterprises with transportation network which provides adequate circulation through and around town, safe public roadways, and upgrade of the town's road network. Goal 5, provide quality community services and facilities to meet present and future needs to protect the safety and welfare of its residents. Goal 6, institute the most environmentally sound and cost-effective solid waste disposal system. Goal 7, actively support the education system to ensure the quality education of its students. Goal 8, preserve and safeguard the integrity of the town's natural resources. That's it. Any questions or comments from the selectmen on the proposed housing and community development plan?
And looking at the citizen participation plan, what is that?
So now that is CDBG is always required what's written there, but now it's written there. So this public hearing, this is just for CDBG again. This public hearing, we have always had to have a public hearing before we ask for funds. We have to have one public hearing during the project if it gets funded. And it's always been that way. It's just written out now.
So that's what the hold 2 or more public hearings.
Yes,
is referring to.
one before and then one during the project.
Thank you.
Anything from the public? Okay. I'll close this public hearing and now open another.
Well, now it's, if you could do these voting.
Oh, now, all right, now, paying. Make a motion to approve the submittal of the Ed McKeon Rehabilitation CDBG application and authorize town manager to sign and submit the CDBG application. And upon approval of the CDBG application, authorize the town manager to execute any documents which may be necessary to effectuate the CDBG contract and any amendments thereto. Have a motion? Do I have a second? All right, I have a second. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Oh. Making the motion to adopt the anti-displacement and relocation assistance plan for the Ed McKee in rehabilitation project. Second. All in favor? Aye. Make a motion that we adopt the housing and community development plan. Second, all in favor? Aye. I'm getting the whole thing.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Donna. All right, next up this evening, the review of the May 19th, 2025 meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the May 19 meeting minutes as presented.
Second.
Second, all in favor? Aye.
Yeah, well, you think that there's 3 husbands in there.
Up is sign various paperwork, current use application for Langevin. As well as the approval of the stewardship plan for Loretta. Latero, and an intent to cut for DeRozier. Well, all right, moving on to new business number one, it's the bond for the Summer Street project. So, in front of you is the, loan agreement for the bond project, for the Summer Street project. It's important that you note 1D, which is the interest cost rate for this, bond sale will be 4.75%. The length of the term is for a 15-year note. Yep, for 15-year term for an amount of $769,865. I have a bunch of things to read as well. Under and pursuant to the Municipal Finance Act, Chapter 33, NHRSA, as amended, the Municipal Bond Bank Law, Chapter 35-A, NHRSA, as amended, and other laws in addition thereto, and to votes of the issuer duly adopted on March 11th, 2025, that was at our town meeting, under Article 2 of the warrant for such an annual meeting of the issuer, there be and hereby is authorized the issuance of a $769,865 bond of the issuer, the bond, which is being issued by the issuer to finance reconstructing the north end of Summer Street and making improvements to the water system, sewer system, and drainage system. The bond shall be dated as of its date of issuance, shall be in such numbers and denominations as the purchaser shall request, shall mature in accordance with the schedule set forth in Exhibit A to a certain loan agreement hereinafter described. The loan agreement shall bear a net interest cost rate as defined in the loan agreement of 4 3/4% per annum or such lesser amount as may be determined by a majority of the board. The bond shall be substantially in the form set forth in Exhibit B to the loan agreement and otherwise shall be issued in such manner and form as the signatories shall approve by their execution thereof. Resolved that the bond shall be sold to the bond bank at par value thereof plus any applicable premium. Resolved that in order to evidence the sale of the bond, the treasurer of the issuer and the member of the board are authorized and directed to execute, attest, deliver, and in name and on behalf of the issuer, a loan agreement in substantially the form submitting to this meeting, which is hereby approved with such changes therein not inconsistent with this vote and approved by the officers executing the same on behalf of the issuer. The approval of such changes by said officers shall be conclusively evidenced by the execution of the loan agreement by such officers. Resolved that all things heretofore done and all actions taken by the issuer and its officers and agents and in its authorization of the project to be financed by the bond hereby ratified, approved, and confirmed that the clerk and the signers of the bond are each hereby authorized to take any and all action necessary and convenient to carry out the provisions of this vote, including delivering the bond against payment therefor. That the useful life of this project being financed in excess of 15 years. And then I further certify that said meeting was open to the public, that the vote was not taken by secret ballot, and that the notice of time and place was posted at least 2 appropriate places within 24 hours, excluding Sundays and legal holidays before said meeting. So before you this evening, we've been working ever since town meeting to work toward their Summer Street project. Soliciting information as needed to appear before the bond bank for its July sale. Or any questions?
Thanks for the you want.
And there are a lot of people in this sale, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, on the town meetings.
Yeah.
You asked to take a motion or we just say it?
Right.
Motion to authorize submission of bond for the reconstruction of the north end of Summer Street. And appoint Jessica Sear as town manager to sign any and all documents required.
Is that?
All in favor?
Thank you. Next up this evening for new business, number 2, bid openings for material machines. We have 2 submissions, one from AB. And this is for material and, this was a solicitation sent to a number of organizations that are local. In the event we need materials, we were reaching out to them to make sure we understand current pricing and to complete businesses. So we've received this from Peckham Industries, which is formerly AB.
Yeah.
It's attached specific pricing for the town of Lancaster, valid from June of 25 through June of 26. Highlighted individual terms that you asked while providing special pricing for our other products. So they gave us a discount on certain products. And gave pit locations for their locations. Terms and conditions shall be known by the town as they are current with the customer on up-to-date terms. So we have a number of different products available. They included materials as well as also machine hours. And it's quite a list, so I think we should just consume it and then force everybody.
It's a little grid, so we could write down. So
Yeah, there's crushed gravel, 1.5 inch crushed gravel, 3 inch minus crushed gravel, 5 inch minus gravel, tailings, 3/8 stone, 1/2 stone, 3/4 stone, 1 1/2 stone, 6 inch erosion stone, stone dust, 1/2 inch ledge pack, 3/4 inch ledge pack, blasted ledge, fill, sand blank, screen winter sand, screened loam, triaxle per hour, 20-ton excavator per hour, 10,000 excavator per hour, 55-ton low bed per hour.
not exactly everything we asked for.
Yeah. The second is from Beatty for aggregate pricing for structural fill, 3/4 stone, 1 1/2 inch stone, 1 1/2 inch gravel, 3/4 inch gravel, 6 inch bank run gravel, 6 inch angular riprap, screen sand, screen loam, triaxle dump truck, 10-wheel dump truck, 20-ton excavator, 10,000 pound excavator, 55 low bed. And that's it. So my suggestion is to move forward with these, excluding any winter sand, because that's something that's already been previously awarded, of being collected what you have to allow us as needed to purchase materials from folks. They can also do a side by side if you'd like to see a grid
sure I'm understanding what you want us to do. You're saying you want to move forward with both of them, so that we can ask one or the, I'm not sure I'm following.
I don't know, I haven't put them side by side, I know that Griffith's going to need materials. I haven't put them side by side to say. You know, just if. Yeah,
And why would we just do it now in public while we have a bidder recuse? Are you asking that we give you the authorization to do that? Or we do it at the next meeting, is that what involved?
I don't know, well, do you think that will minimums for. Like, I don't think these will be going above $10,000 for any type of materials that we'll be using. And we don't even have minimum, we don't even know if we'll be actually using these.
What I'm concerned with is if our board chairman's company is selected and it's over $200, that we're in violation. So it's not a $10,000 threshold for you as far as I understand it. Right.
Give us the two.
Yep. The added structural fill, do you have your? Perfect. $6.50 a ton. Stone, $14.75.
3/4 inch stone, 1475.
1 1/2 inch stone, $11.30. 1 1/2 inch gravel, $9.55. 3/4 inch gravel, $9.55.
55.
65.
Both of those were 65?
1 1/2 inch was 55.
That was 55. Okay.
3/4 inch, 65.
65. Thank you.
6 inch bank run gravel, $7.05. 6 inch angular riprap, $13.05. Green sand is $9.80. Green loam is $20 a yard. Equipment pricing, triaxle dump truck, 110. 10-wheel dump truck, 105. 20-ton excavator, 160. 60, I'm sorry. 60.
Now could be my hearing.
10. And a 55-ton low bed is 145.
Gravel.
Yes. Industries, 3/4 inch crushed gravel, $10.50.
1050.
Yes. 1 1/2 crushed gravel, $9.70. 3 inch minus crushed gravel, $7.60.
So we didn't ask for that. So
5 inch minus gravel, $7.15. They may have been giving us all of their prices. 3/8 inch stone, $19.50. 1/2 inch stone, $22. 3/4 inch stone, $15. 1 1/2 inch stone, $11.75. 6 inch erosion stone, $16. Stone dust. 1/2 inch ledge pack. 3/4 inch ledge pack. Blasted ledge. Fill. $4.
structural stuff.
Just says fill.
Come on.
Structural. Crappy old ditches with your topsoil and stuff, fill, which you can't build on, structural fill you can build on. Correct?
It's like, sounds like we didn't quite get it.
And what was the structural fill again?
$4.
$4.
Sand bank, $8.50. yard. Green sand, $10.50. Skip the winter sand, and then screened loam, $22. Triaxle is $125 an hour. 20-ton excavator is $140 an hour. The 10,000 excavator is $105 an hour. And the 55-ton low bed is $165 an hour.
And wheel dump. No bid on 6-inch bank run. Problem. And no on the angular riprap.
6-inch erosion stone,
That's,
that's $16, yeah.
16.
I'm concerned about the difference on structural fill prices because I feel like theirs isn't quite the same quality.
structural fill, unless we have something that comes up pertaining to like add on to the town hall, is kind of relevant. We're not gonna use it in filling up ditches or anything. You wouldn't pay big money. That's,
What we asked for is for structural fill,
I think we asked for fill, correct? I don't know if it's structural,
Well, it says for
structural. We went to the for structural fill.
we did.
So the 3/4 inch stone, yeah, is 25 cents less. 3/4 inch gravel, I can't do the left math, it's less, 35 and 50, 85 cents less. The 1.5 inch stone, 45 cents less. 1.5 inch gravel, 15 cents less. We only had one bidder on the 6-inch bank run gravel. On the angular riprap. Rapiati's $3.05, right?
and
Yes,
70 cents.
70 cents, yep,
Screen loan is $2.
I heard you, yep.
$1 cheaper on the triaxle dump.
Yep.
Per hour. There was no 10-wheel dump bid from the other bidder.
That's the only bid.
The 20-ton excavator. AB is $20 cheaper. The 8 to 10K excavator is $5 cheaper.
Yep.
The 55-ton low bid, since we had these lowest. Structural, where the biggest difference is.
And did AB say structural?
Just fill.
Just says fill. We went to bid for structural fill, so I feel like only one bidder.
Right.
With that, whether that's what we wanted, that's what we asked for,
That's how it was written.
and that's how it was written, and that's what we got.
So, oh, it's written.
Yeah.
Right.
Basically, the Addy Enterprises is the low bidder on 11 of the products. AB, or whatever the new name is low bidder on 2 of the products. I would personally doubt that if we split that and said, well, you provide us those 2 products, they'd want to do it without the other bids. I will make a motion to award these to the Addy Enterprises completely.
Let me ask a question real quick. Is it worth a call to them so that we get that? And if they say no, So like we make the motion based on right of refusal, if they say no, then Viadi would get all of it. Otherwise, they get the two that they're lowest bid on if they want. Like we did with Pike a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, so keep in mind, we're no commitment to purchase, this is just so,
Right.
yeah.
But if they're not interested, we would know, but we still would be going with the lowest.
And it was interesting because I specifically asked Pike in that meeting whether they'd still just do the sidewalks. And when evidently he got back to the office and they said, no, they just wanted us to do the sidewalks, Pike refused to honor that bid.
With that list, like, in an emergency situation, like say it's midnight and there's a water leak and we need a jackhammer and we call Alan and we cannot get it, will we be able to go to the next fire or, you know what I mean? We have this list, granted it's cheaper. Naturally, we'll call whoever the cheapest machine is, but if they're unavailable, are we allowed to place the call and have the other competitor come in at the higher rate? I mean, that can happen.
If it's an emergency, I don't think we have a choice.
Oh, I just want to be clear on that.
Like, we have a sinkhole on Main Street and
It'd be the same way with a product, one of them doesn't have a product,
Right.
ran out, you need it.
and I just,
Conservative about the word emergency,
Yeah.
right? It has to be an emergency. It's convenience. It can't be because you want it now. I mean, it really has to be.
Yeah.
and I think they've done a good job at that. Obviously, the sinkhole that's forming in front of Dunkin' Donuts was not gonna wait any longer than what's already there. And they got great cooperation actually from two competing contractors on that one. Both
actually, three. There's three companies there, and they all got along and work well together.
And,
Yeah.
Well, may I understand that Carroll Concrete did not bid.
we did not receive a bid from them, and I mailed out a letter specifically to them, and I also posted it to the website.
Word on the street is that the outfit for you bought KB and they also bought Carroll Concrete. So I think that may be the reason why you didn't get a separate bid from Carroll Concrete.
I know AB's definitely sold because I see the paperwork come through today.
Right, word on the street, I say just rumor that Carroll Concrete bought the same person. I think it's an important thing to consider when you start talking about crushed gravel, stone, etc., which AB's bid may not have had adequate or very good quality of or quality, where coming from Carroll Concrete, it's a good product. We know we bought it forever from them for the town. So I think it's too bad that wasn't clarified that. So where the material coming from? Yeah, it's in my estimation, that this is good as Carroll, and Carroll just as good as the X. You don't have that information in front of you, it's too bad.
I guess discuss that by origin with the,
Do we split these out? We just do a wood one.
You can split them out.
All right, so I'll withdraw my previous motion. I'll make a motion to award the 20-ton excavator and 8 to 10-ton, 10,000-pound excavator to AB, or whatever that name is.
I'll second that.
you gotta take in consideration travel at all the excavator. I think they have to deliver an excavator.
Yeah, who wrote this to you?
Yeah, how do you do that?
Well,
The 55-ton low bed will be added by $10 an hour.
There's one contractor that wanna go get the other guy's machine, because he's low bid on it.
You know what I mean? You gotta.
So you even add those two together.
yeah, 2025, so it's 25 lower. but then he's 20 higher. So there's $5, it's only $5 difference. Think of it that way. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of, my wheels get starting sometime.
Do you see it? Do you see that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's why I was.
Well, sorry, I'm slowing it up there, trying to make sure we're doing this right. Okay. Now, go back to.
You gotta withdraw yourself.
Sorry about that.
I'll withdraw the motion, go back to the original motion to award the entire bid to the Addy Enterprises.
Second,
All those in favor?
like,
Aye.
All righty, next up for bid openings, the Mack truck. We have two, bids. One was received via FedEx.
back in, shake.
I'm back, yeah.
Can I get a copy of that list with the pros and cons?
Alrighty, this is for the 2000 Mack, from Orfrey tractor trailer for a bid of $1,587.
See what I like.
We are pay, what we are wise, well, second from a David Potter for $600.
We have a minimum of this.
This is the second go around, first time we did, actually, I don't know what I'm doing, Shane's back and start.
Yeah, so this is the second time around. And the board decided not to put a minimum on. So. But it's unfortunate.
More fires.
For that,
It's reality. $3,500.
Yeah.
Second. Parts or something?
good job,
Yeah.
I got that.
If we say, oh, we're gonna sell it in parts, and someone says, well, I want the motor.
Yeah.
We don't have the capability of pulling the motor.
Oh, yeah.
No,
I wouldn't get.
I wouldn't get it.
Given that, I don't think it's enough, but given that, I will make a motion to accept the bid for $1,587.
Second reluctant.
all in favor?
Aye.
And he's gone.
Alright, second, another bid opening for the expedition. Received two. The first is for David Potter for $600 for the expedition. And it's for Ringwood Motors Incorporated for $1,180.
Again, I think it's. Well, to accept the $1,180 bid for the expedition.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Lost it.
Yeah.
We don't need any more parking over here.
Next up is the, new business number 3, Summer Street Engineering Services RFQ. So we've received, 5 this evening. I'll just open them, should I distribute? Form. We asked for qualifications to which CMA Engineers has provided. Next up, we received permission from Bright Pierce.
WRIYH. No.
Right,
Right.
Pierce and WRITHD.
Yep.
Pierce. Alright. Thank you.
Very.
We are not making decisions on this evening. We are complete them and they're, yeah. I got other names, so I have no idea.
Gonna make a decision.
That'd be a Robin.
That QBS rubric that I
The only reason I,
provided,
Like it.
the only reason I like is I have
Next up is Horizons Engineering.
working from that off, working.
Next up is HGB Engineering.
they have more than 3, because I'm gonna need copies.
Yes, they're
Okay.
5 each.
Yep.
And last up, out of the 5 submissions is from Weston and Sampson. So please review at your leisure. And you will,
That's gonna be some.
yeah,
I'll probably contact you guys to try to devise an interview schedule. I know that we said we would, shortlist 3. I think it's probably up to you if you just want to do all 5.
evening for new business, we have a food truck parking at Drew Park. So, Robin has been working for a vendor, for use of a vendor permit for folks specifically who come to us looking for space within the town. They've provided us a certificate of liability insurance. And we're looking for, kind of some authorization and approval this evening to allow for one food truck to be parked on, Bunker Hill. To have the window facing the sidewalk so that people are out of the way of traffic.
They're actually on Main Street, the corner of Bunker Hill and Main.
Like in front of.
Like in front of the Lions with their window facing the park. Yep.
Is that taking a parking space?
Yeah,
Or is that-
so the request is to allow only one parking spot at any time. And you know, the concession was she wanted to be on the park. So given the situation with the other park, I asked Chief Woodworth if there was an issue with parking along Main Street. With the motel being sold, normally she would have gone over there, but we don't know what's gonna be happening with that. So she was really needing a public space somewhere. So, I guess I'm just asking for the restriction on one parking spot and that's it.
Well, space has been occupied in front of us.
Mhm.
Now, we spent paperwork.
Right,
and done-
exactly.
Is there a fee for that?
We haven't voted on a fee, so, I think at this point, so long as we have the insurance, then we'll be good. I've been telling everyone that don't come to the town because I wanna have it reviewed by the Board of Selectmen, that we haven't completely formalized the application, but we are requiring the insurance from anybody.
If the next vendor, for the next 2 or 3 show up, where would they be looking to park and how would we handle those? I feel like an opening a floodgate sort of thing.
Yeah, she said that she wanted to do, a few weekends. So I said, well, I think we're going to dedicate a space that it should be first come, first served. That there's a, on the application, there's actually a calendar, so you circle the days that you want, so,
So it could become first come, first served.
yes.
And someone could circle, you haven't finished it yet, but they could circle every day. Would we set a limit so that other people have opportunity?
Yes. Yep, you could set the number of days, the one space. Or not at all. I mean, we're just looking for not being on the park.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Per se, but I'm trying to look at the next 3
Oh, yeah.
steps, what's gonna happen, not this
Yeah,
one.
if
This
it-
won't be on its own.
Wow.
I love food trucks, so yay for that.
They become popular again, all of a
But how to
The-
manage it.
That like the road, Gateway and Rotary are trying to figure out ways for them to be out by the Welcome Center. So that's an option, but that's still town land. So,
But plus,
yeah, there's,
the issue with traffic
right,
and pedestrians.
No, but then you'd be taking up parking from other merchants.
Mhm.
I don't know what time they do it. So I've got no problem with experimenting with this one. I definitely like the idea of park, in a parking space versus on the park. The, half a dozen other places that maybe I would approach and say, hey, can I use your parking lot? Got no problem with, let's try it.
And if you're thinking ahead as far as managing a calendar, it reminds me a bit of people, when they wanted to use the auditorium.
correct,
Manage it,
it's the same
make it
thing.
available to people.
Yep.
And as long as that gets done fairly soon, because I think this will continue to grow. That's not a bad thing.
So the application is basically done. It just will require your approval and policy to go along with it.
So is that something that would come at the next work session? What
It could,
time-
yeah,
time
you know.
wise?
Sure,
So it's on the list.
yeah, it is. Because it is becoming popular.
Popular and also have a limited season. It can be there. So,
We've got to get some good with moving forward with this, or what you're putting together. In the actual, well. What do you mean?
Yeah, so
Make a motion to move forward with the approval process for a food truck in front of Drew Park.
Yeah, on Main Street.
correct.
I'll second that.
Okay, all of it? Aye.
All right, no other business, old business this evening, 2025 deeding, the waivers. So as you can see in front of you this evening, there are, I didn't prepare the deed waivers, it was a little preoccupied today. However, if you guys decide which ones you will waive, I'll create the waivers. And then, you can stop in and sign them this week. Okay. So we currently have, 20 different properties in front of you. Thanks, guys. And There's also a supplemental info in the deed list notes.
That's why I numbered here, so they can decide, and then that way I could clearly say, okay, this one, okay, no.
On number one, obviously, the
And then
payment
discussion.
plan going there, but is he catching up at all?
I think last meeting, I gave you a statement showing how much he's required to pay, how much he has paid. I don't have that with me, sorry.
Okay, I just see that there's a thing and he paid a pretty good amount, but he still owes a pretty good amount.
But his payment is. Right. 3 times greater than the interest, so he's doing better than some of the other. Correct. And actually, I think I'm not sure, that actually, I think that is misstated, the $500 a month.
Yeah.
I think it was actually agreed less than that, but he's been paying
Thanks,
$500.
but. Motion to waive number one.
Take all friend.
Yeah. Make a motion to waive number one.
Second. Okay. All in favor?
Aye. Make a motion to deed.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
And if that's for 2 through 4? 2, 3, and 4. Yeah, see, that's one of the ones.
Is there a reason you're not naming names?
The,
That is covering the interest.
that's covering, she's plus no. All public record if you want them. I don't know if we have to actually state the names, but on number 5, depend a little bit on it. I'd like to see more, but I would make a motion to waive.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye. Number 6, make a motion to deed.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Number 7. Issue's always been that because of where it is, we end up paying rent.
Spending more money.
Yeah.
We spend more money than.
Make a motion to waive.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye. Number 8 has a payment arrangement.
Yeah, but it's not. There's not a waiting on a sale.
The,
And I'm sure they'll like accepted to increasing their payment.
make a motion
If
to,
it doesn't go through. The sale. The sale doesn't go through, do we know if there's a pending contract or sale? I believe so.
make a motion to waive.
If we waive it and it doesn't sell, we want a motion to increase the payment.
Well, I think that discussion needs to be had.
I think that's just gonna happen.
Yeah.
You do, okay, I'll second.
You gotta start paying some of them.
Yeah, principal.
Yeah.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye. This is a constant,
I did pursue some of this and I have not. 36 there.
no, it's this actual land or just rights.
Well, it's condo association, so you own the land together.
Yeah, all right.
This has been a repetitive thing, but maybe if we deeded it, it would get some of the other associations to say, hey,
Well, a letter has been sent to the association before when it was prior owners. Nothing new's been sent to the new owners stating, hey, this is a possibility. But the other part is I don't know if anybody's actively pulled out the planning file to see if there was it needed to be developed by a certain time frame. If it wasn't, does it just get absorbed? I don't know what the planning file says.
Really beyond, just into it, there's no maintenance.
I'm just looking because it said
Yeah.
No,
It's the mowing.
no, it's all three.
rights to build in current condo development. Don't know how you tax
We could
the
just.
right to build, so I'm guessing there's gotta be some land on it.
Well, there is some land that is collected.
Permit.
I will,
Right now, the condo owners of the other condos, they're paying on their land rights as well.
Yeah.
It's included in there. So we would co-assess it. Condo,
It's like buying,
can subdivide?
like buying a condo, all back.
I don't, it's subdivided. The one you need to ask that to has left the bill.
we really need to know what then, if we'd be on the hook for any maintenance.
Right.
or-
Road, you know.
Right, as a condo association member.
Right, the water and sewer.
So at this point, given the unknowns, I make a motion to waive.
Second.
All in favor?
Okay.
Aye.
President or what?
Owners Association
Yeah.
board. They're all new
Yeah,
from the
they're all-
last time they were approached, so maybe this group will be a little more receptive. Okay.
The, on this one,
Hold on.
weird situation where paid some, but not on the oldest.
Oh, yeah, but if you'll notice the update, both have come in and paid, and she intends on paying the balance by the due date. Intends to. I don't have any reason why to believe that she wouldn't. She's very adamant about getting paid.
On number 11, make a motion to waive.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye. Number 12, again, another mobile home. Make a motion to waive.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I spoke to her this morning. I don't think she's understanding the process because she spoke to her mortgage company, says she asked them to step in and pay. And the mortgage company will, their mortgage company is waiting for you to decide what's gonna happen. But in the process, she then said, she wanted them to step in and pay. Will the board sign a waiver? And I said, well, if the mortgage company steps in and pays, the waiver isn't necessary because the bill's gonna be paid. And it was a vicious circle of this conversation. So I really don't think she actually understands. So I was going to talk to, she said she's asked the mortgage company to step in and pay. I don't know what that discussion was until I talked to the mortgage holder. They have been in communication with me previously. They've just been waiting for you guys to decide what you're doing. Because they didn't want, I tried to make her understand that if the mortgage company steps in and pays, they're going to adjust her mortgage and then her escrow is going to change. Didn't know she understood that. She's like, well, then I'll just keep paying it was around in a circle. So I figure I would give the mortgage company a call. However, that doesn't change anything of what you guys need to decide, whether you want to just say nope and the mortgage company step in and pay it, or you sign a deed waiver and we can continue to work with you.
Well, if the mortgage company's gonna step in and pay it in a month or two, I'll do away. But I understand that if we deed it, they've got extra fees and stuff that they're going to have to pay. Mortgage company.
The mortgage company is totally they understand that. That's why they'll step in and pay the delinquent. They're not gonna pay all of it. They're gonna pay whatever it is.
I'll
to
make a
get the
motion to deed. Right. Hmm. Motion to waive. Camper. But you have been in touch and she's been.
She's been in touch with us. And she stated that she's gonna pay before the due date. I don't know who she is, but. I'll second, but I'll remember this name next year. Will you now? I will.
Oh, I've seen several.
This one is new to the list.
All in favor? Aye. Given that this is another camper, number 15.
This
Not-
one, Jerry hasn't heard.
Right.
That's not.
You don't even know what the camper is. No. Gonna be.
No, but I encourage you to come to my office and look at those things. So that. Just saying,
Do you guys current pictures of it?
well, I have pictures of it, I'll have current,
Just
but it's something. Or take a ride out.
Oh, God. every time.
I could ask Jason to current picture of it.
For right now, I'll make a motion to waive. Okay. Aye. Number 16. Waive. Camper is no longer there. Gonna have to end up abating that just to get it off the.
Yeah, couldn't Jason go look at it? Also,
But he looked at it in 2024. That's how I know the site is empty. It's a note on the assessing card.
it's a scope they pull that, so.
Yes,
We have
And
confidence.
and he has gone back in this spring. He went back in to see what was there. I could double check to see if it has come back.
I'll second the waiver. Thank you, Judy.
All in favor? Aye. Number 17 is on Main Street.
What do we know about it?
There is currently a possible buyer working through. He's supposed to present a proposal to the planning board. Given the current status of what's going on, I think we would complicate things by deeding it. So for now, and I have had a discussion with the owners that, okay, we don't want to complicate possibility of it being sold and continuing to be there. So make a motion for a waiver now.
Do you know if the, potential buyers are aware of this?
Yes, I have been told that potential buyer is aware of it,
We received several phone calls from the potential buyer.
and he's also aware that when he purchases it, he needs to clean almost up.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. And that was paid. Number 18. Make a motion to deed.
Second?
All in favor? Aye. Motion to waiver.
All in favor?
Aye. He is 100% back living in it. I don't know how, but he is. And we played the game, yeah, a few years ago. I said, we ought to beat it and come back on down there and bust it up and get rid of it. The amount just keeps increasing. I don't know if rent's being collected on it by the landowner.
Oh, the landowner is not this.
This person owns a mobile home. This has been going on 7, 8 years, maybe more. And currently, you've got a mobile home that's probably not worth $500,
Taxes on.
and he owes $22,418.
How much do you have, about
Yeah, what will cost?
$6 or $8 grand? Less. Depends on what's.
And the taxes are lost.
There wasn't much left to it. Anyway.
Before he moved back in, the last thing I knew, I believe they were storing hay inside it. So,
Okay, so it may be strict to a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe only 6 grand, 5 grand.
yeah,
With the town.
So we would forego the taxes.
Well, you don't have a choice.
Right, and we would
If I deed it, it goes away.
but we're never going to collect.
get, why do we keep accruing it?
Right.
Because we don't want to spend whatever to take it down.
Right,
But
but
then we haven't,
we spend time every year on it, we send the notices,
Oh, you don't have to
Do the
convince
lease.
me. I'd love to get it out of my hair.
and it's,
Yeah, I definitely don't need to convince me.
it probably should be condemned, I don't know, but again, that probably should legally be condemned from anyone living in it. But,
who does that?
health inspector.
Maybe it's something the rest you can use as transfer.
No.
No, I don't even think it's. Drag it down there and have them disassemble it during the spare time.
If it stay together.
Perfect. Exactly. Make a motion to deed it.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye. Sooner or later, we just gotta bite the bullet.
Yeah.
And that's one of the largest tax bills. And we know we're not gonna get it no matter what we do.
Well, very unpleasant task, but. That's a storm update. We're having, weekly meetings with, FEMA. Had another one last week. They created a category Z project, which is all of my administrative time. We need to wait for some reimbursement. Next up, select board member. Anything from you?
I have nothing at this time.
Well, the only thing I continue to be a little bit distressed about the amount of parking on Centennial Park, including in the area where we specified to them there's an issue with a very old sewer line. Basically, when you look around, your vendors have their vehicle inches from where they set up their box. Go back, they need to be told it's not a parking lot. You know, you can get one of those little beach wagons and pull their stuff there.
Farmers market's a great draw to town, but it's also becoming a huge detraction that I don't believe they're respecting the park.
I observed, when I paid attention to it, okay? I know from the license to stand up and do it else, the library. Why don't vehicles, that is nothing to do. And that never used to be like. How's that committee doing?
I will see that next Wednesday.
That's all I have.
Thank you. For my report this evening, met with representatives from Trivia on May 22nd at their facility on Bridge Street for a meet and greet. Chief Flynn and I met with representatives from Luke's Medical Center regarding their desire to contract with us for rates, which we talked about during the work session. Lancaster Elementary School, St. John Paul II School and Country Village Center held a successful community disaster drill with representatives from Lancaster and Luke's Medical Center acting as witnesses. We are working on a community school emergency radio channel for the schools to better communicate in a time of need with each other. And Chief Woodworth is reaching out to all 3 schools, including the charter school. I've been spending a lot of my time surrounding health insurance and have worked extensively on boarding with school care. Received some additional news from NHIT's unwinding, and they are ahead of pool-wide claims against what they budgeted. So their cash flow is struggling and they need a reassessment, which is not great. I attended a housing resources presentation at the Welcome Center hosted by the North Country Council on May 29th. Robin was there. It was great to see a lot of representation from Lancaster. I have a bit of good news. Good morning, Jessica. I'm writing to give a shout out to Robin Irving, Tim Brown, and the rest of the highway department crew who made the installation of the 2 new trail kiosks happen. I know this project is above and beyond their already full workload. The highway team was super efficient and thorough. I tagged along so I could also say they were really easy to work with. Thanks to Robin for coordinating with them and getting permission from one of the landowners so that we could place a brand new, very nice looking kiosk on Main Street. Finally, thanks to both landowners, Rita Cloutier and Alan and Joanne Savage, to letting us place kiosks on their land. These trails are designed to be a resource for Lancaster residents, families with kids, older adults, and anyone who wants to get outside in nature within walking distance of town. Stay tuned for more info on a public launch event now scheduled for June 28th. Signed, Rachel Stewart. I now have some words about the town hall heating system. This summer, we've made the difficult but necessary decision to close the auditorium, to hit pause down there, and to suspend any external meetings up here to give us a clean slate in order to schedule contractors, to get contractors in the building. We've obtained multiple quotes for the heating system, including from a commercial contractor and local plumbers. The scope of the work is significant. The radiators on the 3rd floor have rusted through, causing leaks and damage to plaster. And seed traps throughout the building have not been serviced reliably since 1996. We have steam control valves, vent, and zone valve issues. After consulting with a plumber and a supply house, and working with an internal stakeholders group, including Shane's been a representative, Rusty, Chief Flynn, Robin, myself, we determined that transitioning to a forced hot water system will be more efficient and cost effective in the long term, as qualified steam technicians are increasingly rare. We had a hard time calling people up to just get us serviced this winter when it wouldn't stay running. The total for steam repairs is $295,100 for forced hot water, with some labor to come from the town to remove pipes and other infrastructure that's not cost effective for a plumber to do. So for us to do kind of the work and just have the plumbers do the install, that is $192,000. So we've met twice with members of the North Star Corporation, and I'm attending a lodge dinner this week to discuss our needs and to solicit their support for this critical. So this is what it's been very busy. We also have the auditors in this week. I've also conducted a number of phone screens for the finance director position. So it's very busy in the office. That's for me. Yeah.
Got one thing, actually, swapping hats as post commander, of the DFW post, I'd like to thank the community and the town for supporting the Memorial Day Parade and for everyone that came out, participated, and joined us at the picnic.
Information this evening, you'll find a planning board meeting notice for June 11th at 6:30 p.m. New Hampshire DOT driveway permit for tax map P10 lot 7 and land use permits for Stone Street. And next up is public comments.
Anything from the public?
I'd like to. If I asked too many questions in the public hearing, I felt it's okay to ask questions. That's why I'm having one, I may remark the testing, I apologize. However, I do think that it's important if there's a hearing, to be able to.
And I agree.
And, so I also wanted to comment, in support of what Leon said about the farmer's market. A week ago, Saturday, I went down there and, to see if anybody was reforming themselves with respect to parking. And I had the same impression that you all have had. There were cars actually pulled up right to the back of the library, pointing in. There was Annie's Cultural Brew, looking to me like the trailer was right on where the drain pipe is. I don't know where it is, but I was kind of discouraged that after everybody came and aired their feelings about, the farmers, vendors aired their feelings that they didn't respect what I thought you had said, which was, hey, make it easy on yourself. We don't want you parking there. They could have parked at the edge. And I also think, and I commented this to you, Jessica, I think that they had two choices. One was to be very thankful for all the use of the park that they've had. But instead, I felt like all we heard was complaints. Now, do vendors pay to appear at the farmer's market?
I think they do. I don't think they do.
And how they pay?
They have their, it's part of the farmer's market, but I think there's a fee that they pay.
So we don't pay the town. So taxpayers get to bear all the expenses.
The town receives nothing from.
That was what I thought, and I was discouraged because part of their argument was so many people come and then they go and patronize all our businesses on Main Street. Well, for a guy that lives behind Mount Prospect, that doesn't put 1 penny in my pocket. And again, I was sort of disappointed. And with respect to Drew Park, here. But no, and we know that we have sort of that information group's been there since I was 11 years old or something like that. But now, do the Lions own the booth now, and do they lease, and do they pay the town, or?
I'm not sure on that, but I would say the deed specifies no permanent structures. And I know that's been there long enough that people consider it permanent structures.
Well, it says I'm structured by that.
That's also why when we were first looking to put restrooms on Main Street,
Yeah,
one of the ideas was to put them in that building or add on to that building. That's why we couldn't, because that'd be connecting it to water and sewer, which would make it a permanent structure.
don't misunderstand. I helped your brother put the new roof on there, and I like it. It looks nice, but I mean, so it's like you were talking about, wrecked trailers. And you can foreclose on the trailer, but not on the land. Well, what's the arrangement between the Lions Club and that building in the town? That's something that comes up.
Don, I think would like to. Well, the Lions Club paid for that.
Yes, I know.
They paid for that. Number one,
I put
Number two, the club pays $1 a year to the town. And the town also pays for the electricity that is used with whatever amount of electricity that building uses. There's a minimal that you pay. You automatically pay that. Being a Lions member in the past, that's what I know about it. And any maintenance of that building, the Lions Club takes care of. I know I was one of the painters on that building. So, like I said, there's a plaque on there that says Lancaster Lions Club.
And they try to keep it so it's presentable and clean. It's not a dump. So that I can tell you, as far as maintenance of that building, any expenses, the Lions Club, they take care of. Except for the electricity. And I don't know if you figure how much electricity, because I can't remember turning a light on in that building when I was in.
So what's it used for, just storage?
They have a grill and they have other Lions Club, paraphernalia that's in the building, that's all.
Yeah, I've seen the full-time Christmas they used to.
Yeah, well, they no longer do that unless they plan to, rejuvenate, because the club is trying to come back alive. All right, anything else?
Yeah, okay. I want to say, you got a tough cookie with the parking in the park, and the farmer's market. Look up on the whole, on flea market days, and they're all over the lawn, and they don't say, we're all over that one, why can't we be all over the one? You know, get a tough cookie to separate the two.
So.
Look at the community field where the parents all park, watch kids play ball. Put a gravel strip right down through there for parking, and perhaps that's what you're gonna have to do alongside the congregation church someday, and then you can say, this is your area, stay out here. I think you got a very tough cookie. And I'm not gonna be here for a public meeting, but I wanna try and point out consistency to the board. The police chief came in here last summer, gave a $40,000 proposal for the cooling system in the police station, which it did not need. It had an adequate heating system, they had window air conditioners, he was concerned about one room in the center of that building. So you guys gave him $40,000 out of the flex fund to completely heat and cool that building and throw away a good heating system. This was for comfort only, for his officers only, that center room. There wasn't a need for that, so let's be consistent when you deal with Rusty Furnace.
It wasn't slush fund, it was capital reserve.
Capital reserve.
Okay, so what's the,
That's not from each trying to cap. Do what, the same thing, you did the Rusty trying to have, same thing.
Trying.
Maybe another. Sort of air conditioning center room if you're taking the time to study it. The air conditioning center room for probably $2,000 versus 40 and throwing away a perfectly good heating system. I was very,
thinking through a heating system away, oil is still there.
Yeah.
Oil is still there.
it's still there, yeah. But you voted for $40,000 for heating and cooling.
It's a combination, it's a mini split, they have both.
Heating and, that's right, air conditioning and heat.
Yeah.
So you just spent $40,000 where $2,000 would have accomplished. Thing, and the boiler, the burner, boiler is there and working.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, I'm stuck on the taxpayer.
Yeah.
Right? Should have looked at that item a little longer, but it should be consistent when it comes to the chief policeman here last summer.
Actually was discussing that, and probably.
Yeah.
Maybe it does.
I read it. Yeah. And it's true, it should have some consistency in your operations. The other thing is, the Mack truck you just sold for $1,500 was deemed unrepairable, you know it. And you know it was repairable too, don't you? And it ran for 12 years after the authorities, great big truck, told us that it was not fixable. So we bought a new truck, and then it became fixable. Just, I think you guys ought to keep that all in your minds, that, you don't always listen to the expert. Would you agree, Shane?
Don, I have a question. Dan, how long have you been on this board? I know these other two are new, but. Yeah, but that's what I.
15 years probably.
Okay, do you recall when, Brian Patno was running the transfer station and that compactor died?
Yeah.
That was a need, am I correct? What is the difference between that need and this man's need that he needs a furnace?
Well, actually, furnace is still working.
For now,
The issue comes up, it is going to need to be replaced, because you can't get new parts. And again, to me, it's visibility to the taxpayers. We go through a process. He knew it. And in my opinion, maybe he just found out. He knew when we were doing the budget. That furnace,
Did he actually know during budget time that that furnace was on its way out?
100% sure on that.
Because
But-
it seemed to me that the way he runs his operation, that he's conscious enough to know. I mean, since he's been running the transfer station, we've seen a tremendous improvement in that operation. Let's face it. Okay, again, I'm not saying that you're wrong. I'm 100% with you as far as, making taxpayer aware of expenses. But I'm looking at the fact that way back when Brian was running the transfer, I kept asking him about I'm a frequent flyer like most of us, bringing trash, and he kept saying that, we're gonna need to replace that. Now, that was a need, no questions about it. Whether he knew during budget time that the need was to replace that furnace, unless he just, after budget time, it's still cold now. And if that furnace needs to run, and it don't have any more running power, where do we go from there?
But again, that's why I prefaced it, and I wasn't trying to beat him up on it. But it's still taxpayer money.
Everything's
And
taxpayer money here.
He knew the containers needed to be replaced at budget time. And one of the criticisms we always get is, oh, you guys spend money, then you never tell the taxpayer, never goes through the budget process. Okay, he has a need, but we're gonna let the taxpayers know, and hopefully they'll be on a better thing. Just because it's a fund sitting there, doesn't mean we can expend money from it anytime we want.
Realizing that there's funds available for you. Only if there is an emergency need. Is what I would not complain about. I wouldn't bitch about anything, well, that goes, but it's an emergency need. Whether he knew or not, from hearing what I heard, I don't feel that the man knew that furnace was going to have a need.
Well, and again, the furnace hasn't quit yet,
Hasn't quit.
so it's still heating, but he's now moving forward on the right path to get it replaced. Yeah, again, it's just because it's a fund there, we can't come in the middle of the year and expend from it. And we did talk about okay, it was probably an inconsistent decision that we made. But
It's not an impact also to the taxpayers, Jared mentioned earlier. Not an impact on that. I understand where you're coming from. But at the same time, I also understand that the public needs to be told. Do we need a public hearing on this issue?
Yes, that's what we made a decision on, yeah.
And that's what, you made that decision, and that's where it should go.
And I know in that term gets thrown around a lot, there's no impact on the tax rate for that year, or no tax impact for this year. But that's taxpayer money that they've taken out of their pocket at some point and paid to the town. And like I said, I have a fund at the registry where I can buy new equipment when I need it. But I have to budget for that at the beginning of the year. And then I use that fund as income to offset that expense. So there's no impact to the taxpayer. But the taxpayer also gets to see that I'm expending this amount of money for new equipment. And that's what I believe we need to do going forward.
Okay, Rob, you got 30 seconds.
So, this question is complicated by the fact that this was actually a fee collected in a fund, and then it was moved into a different purpose. I remember hearing about the vote. Now I see in the budget that it, in both income and the expenditures is waste motor oil fee line item in both of them. So that's not actually a tax, that's a pass-through fee. I mean, when we list the whole revenue of the town, we list what you collect for registering cars and stuff. That's different from the tax, right? So I guess what I'm saying is that specific money from specific people, not from the taxpayers in general, right?
That's for all vehicle registrations. There's a fee. Yes.
Okay, and that fee is tacked on your registration.
Correct.
MWF, whatever.
Right.
Some of us believe if you're paying money to government, it's a tax.
Well, I'm with you, but the point is, if you didn't have a car and you weren't registering it, you wouldn't be putting money in that. That's correct.
Okay,
Thank you.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
all in favor? Aye.